Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're tackling something every single mission-driven organization has to face. How do you get that crucial grant funding? And, it's not just about having a great idea, it's about proving you're actually ready to handle the money well before you even see a dime of it.
That is the absolute key. It's a competitive world out there for sure. But honestly, the biggest barrier a lot of the time, it isn't the other applicants, it's your own organization's internal readiness. So today we're doing a real deep dive into this idea of grant readiness. We've pulled together the framework that serious funders are using to judge you.
Right, and our mission here is to kind of boil this all down into steps you can actually take, things that'll boost your credibility and, really up your chances of winning. We're unpacking the big questions funders have about your mission, your money, and your ability to deliver.
And just a quick note here, if you're listening and thinking, okay, I'm getting ready, but I need to know how to write the actual proposal, that's the next step. For educational videos, courses, and all the nitty-gritty details on grant writing, we really encourage you to visit grants.courses.
Yeah.
But what we're talking about today, this is the essential homework you have to do first.
Exactly. I mean, all the sources really boil down to answering one huge question for that funder. Can your nonprofit prove, without a doubt, that you have the readiness to pull off this program and meet all their expectations? Not just on the project, but on the reporting, too.
And if that answer is anything but a loud, clear yes, then even the most beautifully written proposal is going straight to the pass pile.
Okay, let's get into it. The sources are pretty clear that readiness means you've done a full inventory of your organization.
Yeah.
And it all starts with two non-negotiable foundations, the things that define who you are and if you can manage the cash.
The first pillar, and you really can't skip this, is mission alignment. And I mean, this is so much more than just a catchy mission statement on your website. You have to show that your core mission is not only clear, but that it's deeply, profoundly relevant to what that funder is trying to achieve with this specific grant.
And that's a classic tripwire, right? An organization sees a big pot of money and they try to, bend their mission to fit it.
Exactly. You see it all the time. Funders are allergic to what they call mission creep.
Right.
If your whole purpose is, say, youth literacy, but you're suddenly applying for an environmental grant just because it's available, that's a huge red flag. It shows a lack of focus. The project you're proposing has to be a direct extension of your proven, established goals.
So what's the nuance there? Let's say an organization has a great track record, but maybe it's in a slightly broader field. How do they prove they're still aligned?
That's a great question. You have to be ready to show specific, measured success in a field that's, very closely related. So, for example, if the funder is all about arts for underserved kids and your organization's focus is just youth development in general, you need to pull out the data on those specific, high-impact arts programs you've run in the past. The funder is thinking, if they haven't done this kind of thing well before, why should I bet on them to start now with my money? That track record is your proof.
Okay, so the mission is the why. That brings us to the second pillar, which is all about the how much. Financial clarity. We're talking about having a super accurate, clear budget for both the project and your whole organization ready to go.
And this is often the big stress test. Being ready means you have figured out all the costs, including the stuff people forget, like the administrative overhead, paying the light bills, supporting the back office staff. You need to show a realistic plan for spending every dollar.
So what are some of the financial red flags that make a funder just immediately skeptical?
Oh, inconsistency is a big one. And lack of justification. Like if you've got wildly different salaries for similar roles and no explanation for it, or if you try to make your project look cheaper by lowballing your indirect costs, a sophisticated funder sees right through that. They're making an investment, and a detailed, thoughtful budget tells them you're mature and you know how to manage their money responsibly.
Okay, this is where it shifts, I think. We've talked strategy and money. Now it's about people and process. Because funders aren't just buying an idea. They're investing in your ability to actually make it happen. They need to be sure you can deliver on every single promise.
Yes, this is what the sources call adequate capacity, and they break it down into three parts that are all connected. It's the human side and the structural side of being ready.
Let's start with the people, the human element.
Competent personnel. It sounds obvious, but you'd be surprised. You have to prove you have the right staff, the right volunteers, the right leaders already in place, people with the specific skills needed. A common mistake is proposing some huge, complex project and then saying, oh, our one part-time coordinator will handle it. A great plan with the wrong team is a failed plan.
So if you have the people, what's next? You mentioned structure.
Right. Fit-for-purpose governance. This is all about accountability. Oversight, do you have a board that's actually engaged? Do you have internal systems to manage financial risk? Clear ethical guidelines? The funder needs to know there's a strong internal framework holding the whole thing up.
And the final piece of capacity.
Mm.
It's not just about doing the project, but proving it worked, right? So we're talking about systems for monitoring and evaluation.
Absolutely essential for them and for you. The outcomes have to be tracked usually against very specific metrics so the funder can go back to their own board and say, look, this was a cost-effective investment that made a real impact. If you can't prove your impact with hard data, your capacity is, frankly, irrelevant.
You know, the sources talk about a nonprofit grant readiness audit. That sounds intense, like some kind of IRS term. What does that actually mean for an organization on the ground?
That's a fair point. It does sound like jargon. But think of it more like stress testing your own organization. It means you're doing a few key things. 1, a governance review to make sure your board is active and compliant. 2, a financial viability assessment. You're checking your official PAX forms, like the 990, against your real-world budget. And 3, a program evaluation check. Do you already have a way to collect the data you'll need? It's basically making sure your pipes are solid before the funder turns on the water.
I like that framing. It's an internal checkup, not an external threat. Okay, so we've got the internal stuff down: mission, money, capacity. Let's switch gears to the external pitch. Persuasion. What does readiness look like when you have to convince someone to write a check?
At this point, readiness becomes your ability to persuasively describe the problem you're solving and why your solution is the absolute best one. Can you truly make a compelling case for support that clicks with what that funder cares about?
Everybody says you need to tell a good story. But I'm guessing funders want a little more than a sad story about one person.
They demand more, so much more. It has to be hard evidence. You need to paint a clear, verifiable, data-backed picture that shows your project will have a quantifiable impact on an issue that genuinely matters. You can't just say there's a need, you have to prove how big it is.
This is where the serious data crunching comes in then. What kind of data really moves the needle? Are we talking basic census numbers or something deeper?
The best is a mix, but the most persuasive data is specific data. Anyone can pull a national statistic. But what really works is primary research surveys you've done in your community, focus groups, local assessments. If you do use that broader data, you have to give it context. Show how your neighborhood is doing worse than the one next door, or show a trend line that proves the problem is getting worse over time. Being ready means you know your numbers cold, and you can use them to create a real sense of urgency.
I love that, and it connects perfectly to what the sources say is the very first step in the whole process, identifying the need. You can't even start the application until you've done that homework. So grant readiness is really doing that work months, maybe years in advance.
That's it exactly. If you haven't defined the need with rigor, your whole argument just falls apart. The funder might believe you have the capacity, they might love your mission, but if they aren't convinced the problem is big enough, they'll pass.
Okay, let's try to pull all this together for everyone listening.
Yeah.
Nonprofit readiness isn't just one thing, it's a whole approach. But what are the 3 big functions it serves?
Okay, first, it strengthens your credibility. Funders trust organizations that have their act together. Second, it actually increases your own internal capacity. It makes sure you can handle a big project without breaking. And third, and this is the bottom line, it just dramatically bolsters your chances of winning the money so you can go out and, make a world of difference.
And it's not just about this one grant, is it? The sources really hit on the idea that this isn't fast money. This is about building something that lasts.
It is. It's about being strategic for the long haul. Without these systems in place, any success you have is temporary. This kind of preparation is what separates a one-time win from real, sustainable growth.
Which leads us perfectly into our final thought for you to chew on, this idea of pursue or pass. You've done all the work. Your mission is clear, your finances are solid, your team is ready. So how do you decide which grants are even worth your time?
This is the final, and maybe most important, strategic test. Just because money's available doesn't mean you should go for it. And we can actually break this decision down into 5 steps, and they all link back to the readiness pillars we've been talking about.
All right, lay them out for us.
Okay, first, the mission match and funder history. Does this grant opportunity genuinely align with your core mission? Or is it a bit of a stretch? And just as important, have you researched the funder? Do they give money to organizations like yours? If it's a marginal fit, you should probably pass.
Step 2 has to be about the money.
The financial feasibility. Does the grant actually cover the full cost of the program, including that overhead we talked about? And here's a big one. Does it require a financial match from you that you can't really afford? If it's going to strain your budget, pass.
That really forces you to be honest about your capacity.
It does, which is step 3, staff capacity and workload. Given everything your team is already doing, can you realistically take on this massive new project without burning everyone out or letting your current work suffer? Sometimes readiness is about knowing your limits.
Step 4 must be the data piece.
You got it. Data availability and M&E systems. Does this funder have really specific reporting requirements? And can your current systems actually produce that data without a huge, expensive overhaul? If your readiness audit showed some weaknesses here, this might not be the right grant to pursue.
And what's the 5th and final step?
Competitive landscape and deadline pressure. Be realistic. How many other groups are going for this? And is the deadline even feasible? If getting this proposal done right means you'd have to rush and cut corners, then sometimes the most strategic move, because you are so ready and prepared, is to pass and wait for the opportunity that's a perfect fit.
Wow, that's a powerful takeaway. Readiness isn't just about preparing to say yes. It's about having the confidence and the data to strategically say no.
Thank you so much for diving into all of this with us today. My pleasure. And it's important to remember everything we talked about today. It's really just the starting line. There's a whole other level of skill involved in actually writing the proposal and managing the funds.
And for anyone looking for those next steps, we're talking educational videos, full courses, and really useful checklists on grant writing and readiness. You should visit grants.courses today.
We really do look forward to seeing the difference you're going to make.
Until next time.